What is going on, Notre Dame fans? Mike Singer and Tim Hyde live on the Blue and Gold YouTube channel. It's a Tuesday night in our new or semi-permanent slot of Tuesday nights. Hope everyone is doing well in the live YouTube chat for those watching back and for those listening via podcast. Please hit the thumbs up on this video. Subscribe to our channel for more content. And, of course, go to blueandgold.com, your home for all things Notre Dame Fighting Irish football and recruiting coverage, fall camp coverage as well, with that starting tomorrow on Thursday. So a lot to discuss as this is really our fall camp preview show. Tim, I trust you're doing well, my friend.
Yeah. Are you kidding me? We got football, man. We got football. So
it's what we all need right now, Tim.
Yeah, Florida State's playing in Dublin. They just finished day 5 today, so that's pretty awesome. No, football's rolling, training camp. I'm one of those football junkies that sets the DVR to all the NFL training camp stuff and just fast forward to the clips I want to watch or coaches I want to hear interview. I love this time of year. NFL Network's just going 24/7, so it's rolling. Notre Dame's tomorrow. You kidding me, man? This is football season. We're here. I love opening games. Some people always like little warm-ups. I'm one of those crazy Notre Dame fans that love a hard-nosed stress test game one. Let's see where you're at. So we're one day closer, and I'm hyped up, ready to roll. But, yeah, tomorrow, hey, Jim Harbaugh said it best, Mike. Tomorrow's like having a baby. Tomorrow's like Christmas, opening day, whatever he said on his opening press conference. But, no, it's exciting.
Couldn't care less about whatever he's saying.
Hey. He's a winner. That's all I know. But anyway, we'll move on. Go Chargers. I got to root for the Chargers now, him and Joel. So that's what I'm
asterisk. Asterisk. Lotus says Singer's doing AMA on Reddit. I sure am. Yeah, I'm a big closet Reddit guy, which I guess that's not in the closet anymore. But yeah, I love Reddit, so I'm doing a Reddit.
What's AMA?
Ask me anything on the Notre Dame Reddit page. So looking forward to that tomorrow. Jay Carr says Tim wants to know guys are going to exit. Or maybe Tim wants to know which guys are going to exit fall camp as dudes. Tim loves that word, dudes.
Yeah, we'll know that around midnight on August 31st. Who's a dude? How's that?
Ask Tim about the recent game against Louisville in the Dynasty. Yeah, Tim Hyde, I heard you coached a really nice game, just blowing out Louisville, a little revenge game at home, beating a ranked Louisville team 42-10. So nice job there, Coach Tim.
Well, hell, I'll take that, right, Mike? Send me the highlights. That one I've yet to see. So
I'm working on it. I put the full like highlight video of the Texas A&M game, and I'm like 4 games behind doing the rest of it. It's very difficult to find fair time. Free time, I should say. So, but we're having a blast with it. So some news that came out last week, the NCAA expecting to approve increased scholarships across multiple sports. So this is my understanding, and I'll keep an eye on the YouTube chat about this if I'm wrong, but they're increasing it from, look, you can have 85 scholarships. It's my understanding now that you can have 105 roster spots, and that's also, it can be now 105 scholarships. So I don't think you can have like 110 football players now. You can only have 105, but you could have 105 scholarship players. So I don't know like what this is going to mean for Notre Dame or what this means for the whole recruiting landscape personally. But like what this looks like for walk-ons, like do you just carry a couple now? Like, or do you just carry a few? Tim, I'm really interested in your thoughts on this, because I have a hard time seeing in this day and age in the transfer portal where it's so easy to just leave, where a kid would, hang around for very long, given that you can carry freaking 18 receivers or something. Like what? I don't know, Tim. I'm pretty intrigued to see what happens here.
Well, I love it. I think it's great. It's more bodies. That's the way I look at it. It's more bodies. I mean, you could say, oh, it kills the walk-ons. Great. Well, that just means the talented. How about Joe Schmidt was a team MVP as a walk-on. Now he wants to come to Notre Dame. Boom. We're going to give you a scholarship. Maybe give you, I think you could even do half scholarships, or maybe that's the other sports. But
Tim, let me interrupt you real quick. I think the Taliches of the world, well, he was kind of him and Faison kind of separate deals where they come to Notre Dame as walk-ons. You kind of know they're going to end up as scholarship guys.
But you don't know when. That's
You don't know when, but I think it might give more opportunities for a G5 school to just go ahead and offer it because you have more scholarships available. So I think it's good for players. I'm definitely glad that with this you have the portal and looking from the player standpoint, because if you can get even more buried on a depth chart now when there's 105 up to 105 scholarship guys, but you do have the option to leave right away.
Yeah, but to me, I'm looking at it as a Notre Dame fan. You don't have. I look at it like this year. You could take a Cameron Herron and develop him. He's going to redshirt. He's not going to be ready to go for a couple of years. He's a guy that's dying to go to Notre Dame. So you could take a guy like him, let him work out, be a practice team player for 3 years, and see where he develops at the center position. This, obviously Talich, they knew he was a preferred walk-on. We're going to give you a scholarship down the road. But now you don't have to play that game. Hey, we like you. You could bring in, look at wide receivers this year. They've had to slow play wide receivers. They slow played Perry, the kid going to Oregon, for crying out loud. It's like, you don't need to do that anymore. You could take him. So I look at it as, those really good preferred walk-ons at some high-end programs, high school programs, you just take now because we could develop him. Look at even D-line. They're out there. You put out a list, you or Kyle, where they were recruiting 5 or 6 D linemen and they were only picking 1. Hell, take 3 of them. This year they could have taken Gordy, Salstead, and they could have gotten the big, Fitzbaum kid or whatever his name was, Big Brad out of Illinois. Take another one of those guys. So, you're not going to have 105 blue chips. Even Alabama's not going to have that because, like you're saying, some of those guys, no, man, you're not going to have 18, 14, 18 4- or 5-star wide receivers. But what it's going to do is, let me ask you this question. Does the Luke Talich just take a guaranteed scholarship? I'm just using him as an example, as a name. Does he take a guaranteed scholarship to Wyoming? It's like these guys, instead of going to Alabama, do they go to a Sun Belt, work their tail off for 2 years, enter the portal, and go get paid?
Yeah. Well, the thing with Talich is that he actually had a couple of other P5 offers, which is why he's not a great example, because he kind of already did that already.
He came as a lacrosse player.
He did.
He was a walk-on just as to do a favor for the lacrosse team. I look at it more as, that's why I use Heron, the offensive lineman out of Warren Central, as a good example of, I'm not a fan of only taking 3 linemen. That scares the hell out of me down the road. So you could always take 4 no matter what. You could always find that good project guy to develop. And some of these guys pan out and some don't. But hell, they were doing that when they only signed 20. 6 or 7 don't pan out. So what's the difference now? You're always going to be bringing in 25, 30, which is that's the way I look at it.
5 Adams says 105 scholarship. When will it start? That's the big question.
It's next year
for the 2026 cycle. You think?
I thought it's on the 2025 team. So I don't know if.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know if you could start. Can you oversign? So can they come back and offer scholarships? I don't know. I'm not a lawyer.
Yeah.
I just read the articles like you guys. So I think it's 2025 where you can start having 105 on the payroll, basically.
Yeah. Very, very interesting. Sure. I was, I think Notre Dame hasn't made a decision on exactly how they want to handle this. There's a lot going on in those football offices right now with the discussions we're about to have about fall camp. But it's going to change something, but I don't know exactly what route Notre Dame's going to go. But will be interesting.
Yeah, the first thing I would bring in an extra wide receiver somewhere. Find some fast guy that that's going 1AA or a group of 5. Bring him in. And Notre Dame has the hardest time finding 300-pounders. Go find a 300-pounder somewhere that's going to go to UAB, for example, Utah State, and say, you got a full boat, get your butt over here, and let's teach you how to play nose guard, because the days of playing 275-pound nose guards in the 14 playoff, or the 4-game playoff, is not fun. So go find some big butts to redshirt and see where they're at down the road.
Yeah. let's hear from our sponsors over at Augie's Locker Room, which is, of course, the one-of-a-kind Notre Dame memorabilia shop. And Augie's has moved to a new location, which is 1733 North Ironwood Drive in South Bend, Indiana. So it's just down the street from Notre Dame. So when you're in town for a game this fall, make sure you make a trip over to Augie's Locker Room to check out their wide selection of Notre Dame Stadium pieces, jerseys, helmets, autographs, and one-of-a-kind Rockney items. You can find exclusive Joe Montana signed items and a famous sculptor, Jerry McKenna's replicas of the bronze statues that you find around the stadium. Augie gets new stuff in all the time. I think there's Ben Morrison signed jersey is pretty neat. I believe that's the Shamrock series from the 2022 Shamrock series game. So was that the Vegas game, Tim?
Yeah, that's the Brigham Young game. Yeah, 2022.
What was the Shamrock last year? What?
Oh, did they? Oh my God, guys, who's the Shamrock? Was that just Navy and Dublin? I don't know, Mike. I'm horrible. Who they didn't?
I can't remember.
Yeah, I can't remember.
Well, when the YouTube chat catches up in a second, they will let us know. But anyways, folks, Ireland. Okay, so I get just used to it being a little bit later in the season, I feel like. But okay, yeah. So there you go. Ireland game and Navy. So thank you. Live chat never disappoints on that. But anyways, Augie's got some amazing stuff that you're going to want to check out. See the vintage helmet display dating back to 1890. Visit augieslockerroom.com. Give them a call, 574-277-6363. That's 574-277-6363. Tim, we are going to move to next the top 25 players for Notre Dame's 2024 roster that the Blue and Gold staff has put out. So let me kind of talk about this first before we break it down. The list is kind of like AP vote style, right? So you make your list from 1 to 25, and I think I usually skip it. I let the other guys do it. Steve Downey, our magazine editor, Kyle Kelly, Jack Sobel, Tyler Horka, and Todd Burlage, the latter four being Blue and Gold writers. So everyone did like their own 1 through 25, and then how you order it is like an AP, right? Like all the writers send in their AP top 25, and then they do the ballot. So I hope this is okay. I hope they're not upset, because this is behind it is premium content, but I hope they're okay me putting on YouTube. So here's the top 25 so far, and we're up to number 2, Tim. I think we can all guess who's going to be number 1 tomorrow. I don't think it's a surprise. It might be a quarterback. His name may or may not have to do with peanut butter. I'm kidding. So for folks watching on YouTube, you see it. For folks listening on podcasts, just go to the 13:30 mark on the YouTube video, and you can check it out. So, initial thoughts on this, Tim. What do you think? And anything that really stands out. So again, and let me add this real quick, Tim. This disclaimer. The list is not necessarily ranking the best players or the top NFL prospects. It's the most important, right? So it's the most important Notre Dame football players ranking. Voters consider talent, impact, placed on the depth chart, and positional value, but a premium is placed on these 2 questions. If you subtracted this individual from the roster, how much of a setback would it be? And if this less proven player emerges and makes an impact, how much does that raise the ceiling or lower it if a breakout does not happen for the player? So with that in mind, Tim, what do you think about the top 25?
My number 1 is Ben Morrison. That would be my number 1.
Yeah, I think two of the guys did. Yeah,
yeah.
Downey and Kelly voted him number 1.
I'm doing Morrison because he's a first-round NFL draft pick, and if he's not playing, that means your 2 NFL corners off of last year, though, top one of the premier pass defenses in the country aren't playing, and you're playing with Jadon Mickey and Christian Gray, talented football players.
And that, Tim, this probably speaks more to the comfort level that you have with Leonard's backup then.
Oh, CJ Carr after camp, when he moves up and becomes 2, yeah, that's just me. But
all right, you want to place a wager on that?
Hey, Those guys make decisions, man. It's it's not me. But anyway, Morrison's mine. Watts is. I mean, Ryan Leonard obviously is a quarterback. Me personally, I don't even put the damn quarterback in the list. We all know that. But
well, yes, you have to put him on the list. What do you mean? So
yeah, that's fine. I mean, yeah, he's the number one. So does that mean?
Okay.
So is he number one because they don't trust the damn backup who's behind them to take them into the playoffs?
Because you're the quarterback.
Is basically
the quarterback has been one every single year we've ever done this.
What's that?
We've done the quarterback's always been one. It's just,
no, exactly. It's quarterback. So I get it. But anyway, that's fine. Watts definitely needs to be high because the backups, I have no idea who the backups are at safety.
And he's a difference maker. Yeah.
Yeah. Cross, obviously a stud. I'm just rattling guys off. Evans, I felt was pretty high because one of the things is they do is if you subtract this guy from the roster, how does it hurt the team? And Evans is a stud. Don't get me wrong. But they got some freaks at tight end. So I think tight end position.
We love Raritan and Flanagan.
They'll be fine. People are going to hate me for this. I don't really care. Jack Kaiser, I don't understand. I've watched a lot of film. I don't understand Jack Kaiser being in the top 10. If Jack Kaiser didn't come back for his 6 years, Notre Dame going to be hurting on defense. My opinion is no. But I thought that was high. I'm glad to see Oben in there in the top 10 because, once again, pass rush.
He's a freak in that video game.
He's not playing. I don't know. Josh Burnham is the same type of athlete on the end, and Bryce Young, I thought, got kind of beat up in the blue and gold game, which really surprised the heck out of me. I found it obviously Gray up there. Gray's is interesting.
That was an interesting placement for me.
Jagasaw really high because if he can't play to you, the tackle thing is just a giant flip of the coin. He could have put OT up in the top 5 if you ask me. But in my top 10, Mike, I would have had Ashton Craig in the top 10 because who in the heck is the backup center? Who's the backup center? He is vital to this team. The way he played the end of the season, he's third year in the program. He's a true junior. I don't know who the backup center is. You move Pat Coogan there. Well, if you move Pat Coogan, Ashton Craig's a stud. So
yeah,
I rewatched those games prepping for this season, just watching all the young guys that played at the end of the year. He's definitely up there. One name I would add in the thing because he's the massive wild card on this football program is Boubacar Traore.
Yeah,
I'm blown away. I can't believe he's not in the top 20. Once again, pass rush. Yeah, a guy says it's Sam Pendleton. Sam Pendleton hasn't played a snap. So that makes Ashton Craig vital to next year's to this football team. But I mean, you got to put guys in there. I don't think Bowen's an interesting one because I kept going off of their criteria. If Bowen doesn't play, okay, play Kingston. I'll be okay with that. But Traore is a head scratcher. He should be up there. Craig's a top 10 guy for me. I would have put him above Kaiser. That's just my opinion when looking at the players. Because once again, I'm looking at depth and other guys that that could be playing. Notre Dame's got plenty of linebackers. Kaiser's. People are going to be like, "Oh, Tim's crazy." I get it. He's been around. He knows the system. All those things. Going to be a coach on the field. But there's a lot better athletic football players than Kaiser, in my opinion.
Okay. What do you think about the receiver placements of you got Mitchell's at 11,
yes.
got Greathouse at 14, Faison 15, and then Thomas is 24. Would you have wanted to see like a Bo Collins in here? Or what do you think about these?
Yeah, Greathouse and Faison. It's funny. The two best receivers on the team play the same position. So that's them at 14, 15 just kind of rounds out each other. It's funny. I wrote down Thomas, ... Where's Collins? So no Bo Collins, your high-end transfer is not on this list. I thought was interesting. But then I went and did a bunch of watching film of Collins, looking at his stats the last couple of years in the big games. I'm curious to see what he does, but we'll talk about that later. I don't think he's an impact guy, which is surprising. And then Mitchell at 11. Mitchell probably could be in the, he's right on the fringe of that, being there at 11.
I think the thing for him is if he does pop and he is everything people hope he is.
Sure.
That speed on the outside, I think that there's a lot of the potential. Like this whole exercise, because I've done this for years. It's so much of different things that do kind of contradict themselves. It's not an easy thing to put together. It's fun, but it's not easy.
Well, it's like just go off of the O-line, which I love. Emil Wagner ahead of Ashton Craig. Well, he's technically a backup heading into this camp. So is he vital to this? With Tosh Baker, obviously Wagner. Go ahead.
Potential. I think that's so. It's like again, these kind of things contradict each other. But I did see this as telling as the blue and gold staff, and they're kind of the average way, or the how you do this with the average, or the adding up the numbers, whatever. They think Wagner over Baker. That's.
I thought. Emil Wagner keeps gaining weight. He's a hell of an athlete. He's fantastic traits, the physical things, the arms, the footwork, all those things. It's year 3. How many times do I talk about year 3 for linemen? It's a bread and butter when it comes to the history of Notre Dame. It's right there. I hope he starts, because that means all 5 linemen are returning in 2025, which I think would be great. It'd be great for Wagner. Just once again, going back to the athleticism, if he wins that spot. So I just thought that was high, especially like I'm a big fan of Ashton Craig. So roll from there. But it's a fun list when you start. Like, I looked at it straight from, if he's not there, who's the backup? I think that tells you more of how important they are to the team. That would be my main criteria for that. That's why Morrison. If Morrison doesn't play against Texas A&M, man, it's going to be interesting. It will be interesting, because who's the third corner?
Clark.
Right? Huh?
Clark.
Well, he's your nickel.
Nickel, but he can play corner.
All right, then who's the backup nickel? A true freshman that they're cross-training? You know what I mean? You start getting into these dominoes that coaches think about, like, all right, this guy's sprained ankle, this guy's got a broken belt buckle. I always use those dumb examples. Who's going in for him real quick? Those types of things. You gotta think of that. I've heard Tay Johnson, Leonard Moore, right? Or is it Hobbs? Excuse me. I think Hobbs are playing the nickel. Okay, do you want a true freshman out there with a really good OC? So it's a fun exercise when looking at some of these guys.
Yeah, Tim, I want to bring up what Frank is asking you here. What is higher? Is a stud or a dude?
Oh, a dude.
A dude is has a higher rating than a stud.
That's the SoCal surfer language. Yes, dudes are better than studs.
Okay, what's better, having SEC speed or being a dude?
It depends what position you play by.
All right, we're gonna move into kind of more of the fall camp talk. I did tweet out, Tim, what are the biggest storylines you're tracking for Notre Dame fall camp? So we'll go through some tweets. Holtz Heroes Foundation tweeted Andries, get out of camp healthy. Mark with Glasses says the quarterbacks and receiver connection.
Great one there.
Jeff in the Ville says I'm most excited about Jeremiah Love. Thinks he's going to be a stud. Blue and Gold Nation said who will have a breakout. Mike says right tackle and left guard. Justin says, give me 1 second, guys. Okay, yeah. Justin says how the quarterbacks, receiver, offensive tackle, blah, blah, blah. Ben Morrison health, that's definitely a big one. E-Greek has some position battles. O-line, Funky Joe says O-line, okay, literally the biggest offensive line. Riley Lanker's ankle, period, says Matthew for sure. Starting QB, yeah, I think we know who that is going to be. So
just off of those comments, it's going back to winter conditioning, when those guys are allowed to throw out there in the indoor facility, spring ball. Now Riley Leonard, missed so much time. It's hard to hit timing routes when you got a boot on and you got your scooter. You can only throw so many slants, right? So, dancing in the background, 20 yards behind everyone, throwing on air. Hell, you and I could do that, Singer. So we could be really good. But It's the timing. Exactly. It's going to be the timing. And that's why it's going to be awesome in game one to see how that timing is, because A&M's got some damn good defensive football players. So how does it, after that, they have some tune-ups as Singer's learning, playing NCAA 25, getting ready for Louisville. You get a couple scrimmages, getting ready for there. And then you have a fun game, some more scrimmages, and a couple more fun games down the road. But yeah, the timing, man, that's got to be the issue number one. Just how are all those guys meshing, working together? So many new wide receivers. Harrison, right, didn't get to play in the spring with an injury. Bo Collins watched in his polo shirt all spring. So, we'll see. Hopefully no hamstring injuries come back this year.
Yeah.
Faison's playing lacrosse, winning a ring. So a bunch of these receivers did not work with Riley Leonard. So it's almost like a cram session now once we get into camp here with the pads on.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
All right, let's get into Tim's 5 fall camp storylines. Number 1 for Mr. Hyde is Marcus Freeman in year 3. As Tim Hyde likes to say, year 3 is a biggie.
And let's ask, why is it a biggie? Let's go back a few years. Era title, Divine title, Faust won the Liberty Bowl, fired 2 years later. Holt title, Bob Davie goes 5-7, fired 2 years later. Willingham goes 6-5, is fired in year 3. Weiss is 3-9, fired in 2 years. Kelly goes to the national championship game. He survives, goes on and coaches many more years. So we'll see what this has to do. I don't see him going 5-7 or 3-9. I think we will all lose our brains.
Oh my gosh! Could you imagine?
Oh my God! Thank God YouTube wasn't around in 07, and probably was, but we didn't have a show, so that's a good thing. But it's a biggie. And why is it a biggie? Hold on, let me find the Timmy Hyde notes right here, which of course I can't find right in front of me. My big thing off of this, Mike, is my reasoning for Freeman is that picture, the Shrine Bowl, the Senior Bowl, excuse me. The Senior Bowl posted a picture with 11 Notre Dame players on the watch list. 11 eligible guys. So you're looking at an old football team. Mike, that doesn't even include Rod Hurd from Northwestern in his 6th year. That doesn't even include Benjamin Morrison, who's more than likely going to go to the NFL after this year. If Tosh Baker's a starter, he's year 5, on and on and on. So many of these old football players. This is an old football team.
Yeah.
And I started going back, looking at some of the old football teams that are heavy senior laden. You're going 2012 championship game. 2020's team is a lot of old dudes on that 2020. Obviously, they win that's the COVID year. They go to the Final Four. And arguably one of the greatest teams of all time is 1993, which was stacked with seniors, as us old Notre Dame fans like to count that as the true national champion. So Marcus Freeman, year 3, no excuses. You are stacked with a lot of veteran football players. So use them and do as much as you can in this year 3.
Storyline number 2. I mean, Tim, this is more fall camp focus, not just Notre Dame football focus. So keep that in mind with your explanations. Is Mike Denbrock the savior, Tim, going into fall camp? What are you thinking here?
Yeah, it's like it's interesting. He came aboard and he's like instantly Bill Walsh coming, bringing everything is going to follow him. So the pressure is sky high. And as Mike Singer likes to say, fans won't be happy the first punt on the first drive, if that's the first drive. I think the pressure is immense. It's insane. Obviously, what he did at LSU, but what he did at LSU is, he had the number 1 offense in the country. He's been an OC at Cincinnati, Notre Dame, LSU. He's only had 1 top 20 offense. That was last year. So, when I count Denbrock, I look at 14, 15, 16 his Notre Dame years and then his Cincy years. And obviously at LSU is tremendous. He had a Joe Moore finalist O-line, 2 first-round draft picks, a Heisman Trophy winner, who people forget was the number 1 quarterback when he came out of high school in 2019. Jaden Daniels was no 3-star at Arizona State. He was the best player in the country. So the pressure is on Denbrock. I'm excited. It's nice to have him back. He's been a heck of a coach. I've met him personally on the recruiting trail. He's a hell of a dude. Really excited to see what he could do. And can Riley Leonard be that Desmond Ritter, Jaden Daniels, even Deshaun Kaiser, in 15, the really good year he had in 15, 16 throwing the ball. So excited for Denbrock, but man, you talk about people just put him up already on the Mount Rushmore of all-time Notre Dame coaches. So we'll see.
Number 3 for you, Tim. Wide receiver.
It's been I think since you and I met, I always talk about wide receivers. And what do I always say? When's the last guy that's caught a middle screen, a line screen, I like to a quick smoke screen into the boundary, break 6 tackles and score? Devontae Smith on a bubble scores. Can we get one of those guys? It's wide receiver. There's no doubt about it. But there are so many upperclassmen. These 3 transfers all came in. Obviously, Chris Mitchell had a heck of a year last year in year 5. So now it's year 6. He didn't go to the NFL for a reason because he's coming back for a 6th year. Harrison, All-American kick returner, but he's never been a wide receiver. So I don't know. I really don't know what to expect from him as a wide receiver. Athletic, but he was out all spring with an injury. And then Bo Collins is the wild card, Mike. He's had 1 game over just 75 yards. I just went and charted 75 yards receiving the last 2 seasons. And it's against FCS Charleston Southern. That's it. The last 2 years. Bo Collins has been playing college football for 3 years. He's never played a full season. He's had to sit out some games for injuries. Thomas has been injured. Deion Colsey, Mike. Are we going to see Deion Colsey? And then obviously, as I said it earlier, the 2 best wide receivers on this football team play the same position in Faison and Greathouse. So how does Denbrock get them on the field at the same time? Does Faison play some outside? They tried doing that with Greathouse last year, and he went 5 games without a catch because he can't play outside. Is it different this year? We'll see. So it's interesting, Mike. It's going to be a fun season. Is the wide receiver better than it has been? Of course, because they didn't have anybody the last couple of years. They had to flex out Michael Mayer and play X receiver. So wide receiver is the biggie, because as we know, Notre Dame's not going far unless they have some dudes out there that could play.
When Joe Alt and Blake Fisher were on Notre Dame's roster, they had 3 offensive line coaches in as many years. Yeah. Well, now, for the first time in a long time, we have the same offensive line coach back-to-back years. So Joe Rudolph going into his 2nd year, Tim, giving this position group some continuity going into fall camp.
Oh yeah, I mean they all know his voice. They all know the drills. They all know how he watches film, talks film, breaks down film, sends text messages, all these things. It's language. Offensive line. You always hear the Joe Moore guy talks about 5 working as 1, and it's 5 dudes on the same voice. Finally, they could all take a deep breath. Blake Fisher talked about this. I've heard, Joel talk about this as well. Listening to just, zone blocking, but it's the language. So very excited about this. I love what Rudolph came in last year and had open competition, and the 2 guards beat out 2 guys everyone thought was going to start last year, in Christophic and Billy Schroff. Obviously, this year it's going to be open at left tackle, right tackle. I think they got a hell of a player at left tackle. I think the center's a stud. Billy Schroff's going to be awesome. So all upperclassmen as well, outside of Jagasaw, as a sophomore. But you got a couple juniors, some older guys. It's exciting. And then as the biggie, I'll get into this in a few seconds. I've been looking at some stats for the pass game and run game. I'll dive into that in a few minutes.
The defense last year was stellar for the Irish. Do you think they're going to have back-to-back top 10 type defenses, Tim? That's point number 5 here.
Once again, that's the coach in me. That's whatever you did last year is meaningless this year. Sometimes it's just like, it's a whole new team, whole new culture, whole new players. And it's going back to the Denbrock thing. Oh, we're going to automatically be top 10. Really? Okay, we'll find out. We'll see. It may be because some of the schedule is so bad, they're going to just roll up points. But is it going to be like last year's schedule and whatnot? But the defense, Mike, you're losing 2 NFL inside linebackers. Hasn't happened since 1994 with 2 inside backers picked in the same year. It's Oben a 1-for-1 plug and play as Baptiste. You know what I mean? Can he do the same things Baptiste did? I'm telling you, man, people just assume the corners are going to be the same. Cam Hart's a 3-year starter. They're losing 3 years of starts, an NFL guy. So that he was gone, like, as we said, the year before, had he not gotten hurt in the BC game. So that's going to be an interesting thing. They're strong on the D line, man. They are
Yeah.
old gray hairs up there playing on the D line, which is awesome.
Yeah.
You know, they got vets. The interior is all upperclassmen. They're going to let, Houston, Brennan Vernon, all these young guys just keep lifting and eating because you don't need them. But is it going to be a top 10 D? It should be, because it's that third year of the system, going back to the language, the communication these guys all use. So, but there's some pieces they got to miss. Is Drake Bowen just an instant JD Bertrand? We'll see. Can Kaiser do the things that Maris did, right? We're going to see. It's the corner to me, is the Ramon Henderson, DJ Brown. I know, DJ in Ohio State will always live in infamy, but Mike, those dudes played 3 years in the same system. They're gone. The backup, the safety position is Hurd, who didn't practice, just going to jump in and be a guy. So we're going to find out the first game, and that's what's so damn exciting.
Let's talk about some specific fall camp battles, position battles ahead of that A&M game at the end of the month. We got 5 for you. There's a couple others, but just like that number 5. Cornerback opposite of Ben Morrison, Tim. Jaden Mickey versus Christian Gray. Now that BGI top 25 most important players list had Christian Gray number 12. Mickey was even in the top 25. Yeah. So that's the Blue and Gold writers telling you strongly that they think Christian Gray. But I still expect to see both of these guys on the field this fall, especially potentially against A&M if Morrison, knock on wood, isn't able to play.
Yeah, it's going to be a great battle. I think it's a great point you make. You got two guys that, Mickey's played a ton of football. Gray, they got on the field more and more and more as the games went on last year to get more experience. His talent level is every bit as good as any corner that's come at Notre Dame. He's freakish when you watch him. The practice clips, the blue and gold. He's an unbelievable athlete. So this is going to be a fun battle. I hate to say it. I hope it's not the 2 starting corners in A&M. I hope we do get to see Ben Morrison, because that's going to be awesome. Because you always want 3 corners you could trust. Even though we're talking about field corner, if Morrison has to take a blow, one of these guys could go replace Morrison for a quick series if need be. So both these guys are vital to the team's success this year.
Okay, looking to the next position battle. It is a left guard, Rocco Spindler and Pat Coogan.
I'm pulling for Rocco. That's just me. I like Maulers. He's a massive dude. I just keep envisioning him with his size, those big shoulder pads next to Charles Jagasaw, and just moshing people on inside zone. Because they're going to run a hell of a lot of inside zone, people. Just get ready. That's Dan Brock, Brian Kelly, been together forever. That's what they run. So we're going to see a lot of hardcore double teams. I hope it's him, Pat Coogan. You got 23 starts out of these guys right here. So it is going to be a hell of a battle. Excited for Billy Schroff, obviously, to be the true right guard, but someone's got to split it. Do you do a 2017 at what they did at right tackle with Tommy Kramer and Robert Hainsey, where they rotated every series? They won the Joe Moore Award rotating right tackle every series. Can you do that at left guard? I don't know. I don't know if you could do that out there on the interior with the communication, but I'm pulling for Rocco just because I want to see him and his big mauling behind out there doing some double teams with Ashton and Charles.
Mike linebacker, Tim. Kingston Viliamuasa and Drake Bowen. What do you think?
Yeah, this goes back to what I saw when Bowen was in the top, almost the top 20 of most important players, which kind of surprised me. So good football player, got a lot of experience last year playing in special teams and getting some reps here and there. But Kingston's a dude, man. He's a flat out dude.
You rolling with Kingston, or do you think it might be a deal where Kingston maybe overtakes him as the season goes on? Like, what do you think?
I think it's going to be, once again, you got Bowen, who's a soft. He's been there a few months longer. And obviously Kingston's been there all, winter, spring, summer, getting everything going. His talent is off the charts. It's just, I've said it, and I'll keep saying it. He's the best, most ready to play linebacker since Jalen Smith, Manti Te'o. He's coming into Notre Dame ready to play football on day one. So I think Freeman's kind of hinted at that as well. I think this is going to be a good battle. But I wouldn't be surprised if we see a rotation with these guys
Yeah.
early on, because Bowen's not. I mean, Bowen doesn't have 200 snaps last year as a freshman. He has a couple little garbage time snaps. That's it. So I think you putting him in here, Mike, is a great battle, because I wouldn't be surprised if we see 50-50 reps with these guys as we move forward.
Yeah.
And then someone by Louisville maybe solidifies himself.
Yeah. Same with corner, like the Mickey Gray thing. Like some of these positions,
They're gonna play.
Yeah, they're gonna play. Offensive line, though, it's you mentioned that one situation, but in 17, but that doesn't happen often. Speaking of right tackles, Tim, Baker versus Wagner, in my opinion, this might be the biggest position battle for Notre Dame. Kind of the most intriguing one. It really felt like it was Baker's job to lose coming out of the spring, but it just kind of feels like it's Wagner's job now to lose. But we will see, especially after practice on Thursday morning and getting those reports at blueandgold.com. Definitely consider signing up to the website. It's a great opportunity to do so right now. And you have the promo code UND1 if you want to sign up. This is for new subscribers. Blueandgold.com, $1 for 2 months. Code UND1. But yeah, we'll see who gets the kind of the 1 reps there during practice, which is fully available to media. But yeah, I think it's going to end up being Wagner, Tim, but we'll see. What do you think?
That's the I mean, you're right, because you could rotate Coogan and Rocco, because they both started. This is their 4th year in the program. They're true juniors, so they know all this stuff now. You know what I mean? You could rotate them and not, I think, miss a beat, so to speak. Tackles, though, man, you want those linchpins. You want those guys to be your guys and roll from there. In 17, they did it because they knew Kramer was going to move inside and Hainsey was going to just stay outside, which eventually happened in 18, 19, and 20 as they moved forward. Wagner, we keep going back, the athleticism. You're right. I mean, they had an open competition. Let's go back to December. They opened up the competition and Baker beat them out. Freeman said, hey, man, they had equal reps, one-on-ones with the ones, all that stuff, and Baker was the guy. And Baker played solid. He was not, a turd in that game. He played solid. You met him, Mike. The dude is massive. He's huge. He's huge. So his size alone and that length, it's like you just got to run around him. And does that win out against Emil's just quickness, basketball, track skills, so to speak? So this is going to be fun. I'm pulling for Wagner only because I would love to see all 5 of these guys return in 2025. The Joe Moore Award favorites kick butt this year, make the semifinals under Joe Rudolph, which it was last year. I think that would be a huge testament to this O-line if they hit that milestone. I think being a semifinalist with 2 brand new tackles would be unbelievable. So I know people keep talking about Apsher. Wagner's a better athlete than Apsher at this stage. People talk about Gerby Lambert. Man, you don't throw a true freshman who just showed up in June, at the end of June. So to speak.
Let them figure out where the bathrooms are first.
Blake Fisher started because he was there all spring. He was the best one. That's why he started. Lambert, exactly like Greg just said. If Lambert starts as a true freshman in game 1, holy moly! Yeah, he's either the second coming of Orlando Pace or there's issues. So
Frank said, "What's Wagner's weight these days?" Listed at 6'6", 290. For what it's worth, when Notre Dame
another summer of weightlifting, he had talked in his spring interview. His goal was to be 300. The dude is so lean, you can't tell if he's 292 or 305. So he's going to be fine. And Joe Rudolph talked about this as well, being like he could play at 290. And Robert Hainsey was no monster at right tackle, so it's totally doable.
Slot receiver, Faison and Greathouse, Tim. This is one of those that it's maybe more or less a position battle than just who gets more snaps or targets, because these guys are both going to play, especially if you go to 10 personnel. Then you have 2 slot receivers, unless you want to run like an 11 and flex out Mitchell, so then it's you have 4 wide, but one of them is tight end. But if you want to go 4 true receivers, then you have room for both of these guys. But any thoughts on this, Tim?
That's I mean, if you go see, and I'm once again, if you go 4 true wide receivers, your 2 best catchers, Evans and Raritan, are watching the game like you and I are. So
Raritan, you think
Raritan's a stud.
he is a stud.
You could blindfold that guy, he's going to catch the damn ball. That guy's catch rate, no one on this team has catch rate as him. That dude needs that. Man, I've never understood for the life of me. They did it in the Sun Bowl. Just flex him out. Just throw the damn fade to the guy. It's like the little touchdown he scored in one of the games on the corner route. He's a stud. But we're talking slot receivers. And this is the thing. If you have certain guys on the field, certain guys are watching. So people always want to talk about wide receivers, but Notre Dame's got 2 freaks at tight end that can catch.
You want to talk about wide receivers, Tim. That's all you want to talk about. What do you mean?
Exactly. I don't want 4. I don't know. Okay, well, this is my point. Are 4 of them on the field better than Evans or Raritan? 4 wide receivers. You want Mitch Evans on the field, off the field?
I think you mix different things around.
I want the guys that run the best routes, that have the best hands, that can make plays. Evans showed he can make plays. Raritan can make plays. This phase on Greathouse.
I want to keep this here in the noggin for when Tim is just so upset about wide receiver recruiting. But like, Tim, you got to include tight ends, because tight ends you could just split them out. They're also receivers.
And that's what they've had to do the last few years, because they haven't had anybody outside, Mike. So when you want to talk about wide receiver recruiting, it's always about the outside guys making plays on the outside. It's
but yeah, slot receivers are also, slot receivers are also in that same discussion.
Of course they are. They run the slot fades, which they've done a ton in the last few years. They're going to run it again this year. It's a play everyone runs. So exactly. So one of these 2 is always going to be on the bench unless one of them can play outside. That's going to be the interesting thing. So these are probably your 2 best wide receivers. I think I'll take Jordan Faison over Deion Colsey any day of the week. I'll take Greathouse over Jaden Thomas any day of the week. So the transfers, I'm skeptical on the transfers just because they had to transfer. They're not NFL guys. These are the guys that ND has to get, are these grad transfers, and you're 5 and 6 right now. So we'll see what these guys do. But yeah, I mean, you brought up 10 personnel they may have to do at times. So we'll see how that looks.
Yeah. But regardless, these guys are they're both going to play for sure. So this has been something that Tim and I have gone and discussed, like Faison versus Greathouse, because they're just two totally different styles of wide receiver at the same position, and they're both so good. I'm personally more of a Greathouse guy. Tim's more of a Faison guy, but we both like both of those guys a lot. So,
but I guess it's maybe one can play outside, right? Can one of those guys play outside? So
can they? I mean,
yeah,
it would just be Greathouse because of the size. I mean, Faison's got speed, but you know, he's more of a slot guy.
No, he is, and that's
just the style of his play.
They're 2 excellent football players. It's Irish fan just said it perfectly. I was about to say that. Nice problems they have.
All right, all right. I'm with you, Irish fan. I'm with you, Tim Hyde. But let's not start saying nice problems to have when it comes to receiver. Let's see it first.
It's slot receiver. Outside receiver is a different animal on this Notre Dame football team. It just is.
Yeah, they've got plenty of options in the slot, which is why I do really think that Mitchell, if I had to do that top 25 list, I might put Chris Mitchell at like number 5 or 6, just because of the importance. If he were to break out,
I agree.
And he can do some of the things he did last year, and replicate that at Notre Dame, and that'd be great. It opens up a lot.
It opens up a lot to have a true outside guy D coordinator's got to worry about. And yeah, Chris Mitchell's vital to this team just because of the season he had and the expectations for him to be at Notre Dame to have a damn wide receiver.
Well, look at me and Tim making an agreement about receivers. How about that?
It's wide receiver is a mess. Yes.
Frank says, how many snaps for Buckner this year? Did we ever determine if he's on scholarship for lacrosse? I can't ever remember.
I don't know, Mike.
I think he's a walk-on.
I
think
he's
he
a
walked
walk-on.
on so then he can play for the football team and not have any. But then if they go up to 105, then might as well throw Buckner on scholarship. Who cares? But like I would love to be wrong about Buckner because I'm very happy about how he came back and had to swallow some pride, I'm sure, and all those things. But personally, I think that Tyler Buckner will be holding up the clipboard for the signs and whatnot, and will provide some good receiver depth for the scout team. That's personally my opinion. Captain Crunch said nobody's talking about Eli Raridan. You haven't been? Did you just tune into the show? Talked about
go back 6 minutes.
Yeah. So
huge Eli Raridan. He's tremendous talent. So excited to see what he does.
Another guy I met when he was going into his senior year, and he's someone where I'm a big dude, right? I'm like, whoa, and he's just a massive person, Eli Raridan. So
just get him the darn ball inside the red zone. He's Tyler Eifert, man. Kyle Rudolph, massive mismatches out there on the perimeter when you have to play cover zero and find that fish, man. Find that, that floppy DB out there you could just torch. And Raridan's so damn tall. So excited. Going back to someone just said, going back to my thing about Denbrock. Denbrock's going to find places for all these guys. I hope he does, because there's some really talented football players, and we'll roll like that and see how it all works. Only one ball, but definitely some talent all the way around.
Thoughts on this right here, Tim? This is more for a YouTube audience, but I do feel like I nailed this look.
This was a scrimmage, because I shave before every game, just so you know. So that's why I'm a little scrubby in that one. But it's no, I like that one, Mike. I like that one. Hey, let me those are some good memories right there. Good memories. That was a fun season. But hey, let me just go back. I finally found my stupid little stats as we get ready to end the show and roll right there. Going back to the importance of Denbrock and going back. These are the same. Yes, they are the same person. Denbrock, and obviously going back to my Joe Rudolph thing, because Freeman in year 3. It's funny, Mike. There's a little thing. Really good pass offenses are offenses that set over 7 yards per pass attempt. A hell of a game is 4.5 yards a carry. The 3 worst losses we could all say: Louisville, Marshall, Stanford in the 2 years with Freeman. All 3 of those games below those standards of pass per attempt, rush per attempt. The stats didn't meet it. So 5 of the 7 losses, Mike, 5 of the 7 losses, Notre Dame did not even get to 7 yards, over 7 yards of pass attempt. So that tells you right there, wide receivers. And for the longtime ND fans that have been around, Notre Dame always seems to get their butts kicked when push comes to shove against a good D line. 5 out of the 7 losses, Notre Dame has been held under 4.4 yards per carry and less. Yeah. The only games they were above is Ohio State and Clemson last year, which is fascinating. So just a little stat as we look into things, how the importance of Denbrock utilizing these guys and the importance of Joe Rudolph in year 2, getting this O-line to just match up in the big games, right? The big games, the A&M, the Louisville, the Florida State, the USC, those big games on the schedule, and making sure they hit a certain criteria and get themselves over the hump. So just a few things I looked at when diving into the 7 losses with Freeman.
A couple more things. Jack Sobel just texted me. I'm assuming Jack's watching the show. He said, for what it's worth, Boubacar would have been 26th. Just based on like the honorable like mentions, or just like in the top 25 poll, you have like the 26th or the other teams that got a vote. Boubacar just missed the cut. So for what it's worth, which does make sense, because if you don't have Boubacar, okay, look at all these other DNs you have, but he can make a big impact. And I'm a huge. Jack was just relaying the information. Calm down.
No. But for Jack and for Tyler, it's like who's more important to the 2024 defense, Drake Bowen or Boubacar Traore? To me, it's Traore. The ability to be a pass rusher, the ability to create
one
havoc
is
on
like
the edge.
one you can make an argument as like your third or fourth best pass rusher. One is your Mike
Maybe
linebacker.
the best pass rusher. We
He
don't.
could be. He could be.
Yes.
But
Jordan
I would
Botelho
say
doesn't-
for that exercise, I would go with Bowen. But it's a super, super subjective thing, what you value and all that stuff.
Yeah, no,
I mean,
hear you.
yeah, for the sake of, but I hear you. I love, you know me, I love Boubacar. The guys that I'm higher on than most, Boubacar, KK Smith, Bo Collins. Just the things I'd heard about Bo Collins from people in the know, and just like he's flashed, but that's been in t-shirt and shorts. So,
But I am dying. No, and I'm with you, Mike, because obviously he's a St. John Bosco kid. Him and DJ tore it up together out there
They
in the
did.
training league. Hell of a football player. But at Clemson, and Clemson's got NFL dudes at wide receiver now, right? They have some playmakers over the years. He has been a slant, a hitch, a 5-yard out guy, a middle. He's basically been a Jaden Thomas, Deion Colsey type of player for Clemson during his 3 years. So I am very curious, rooting for him. Hope he has a hell of a year, because then he could go home, the Lakewood, Long Beach area, and say, hey guys, get your butt to South Bend, right? It only helps. So I'm pulling for him.
yeah,
The film I've watched, man, I have big reservations.
Yeah.
For that. I'm pulling
get
for him.
I get it. Yeah. Obviously, there's a quarterback I like that most people don't like as much, but that's fine. There's one other thing. Okay, Tim, just wrapping up.
Sure.
You brought up those 3 losses. People in the YouTube chat were talking about Clemson is up there as well. To me, Clemson's not in that discussion because it's Clemson on the road. The way they lost was brutal, but it does not, to me, it's a distant fourth.
I'm with you, because I mean,
Tim, you stop agreeing with me. I don't like it.
Yeah, exactly. No, just going back to the stupid little statistical analysis, you start breaking down things. All of a sudden, it starts like, what the hell? Look at these games. The Louisville game is way worse. That was like, I mean, you got all the momentum. Obviously, you're tired. That's what sucks. That's the 3rd game in a row.
Right.
So, bam, it hit you. It was an
Third
ambush.
big night game.
It was Louisville's like ambush. Like, hey,
It
let's
was
go.
Ohio State, Duke, Louisville.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, and that just like Notre Dame took it out on SC the next week. So roll from there. Clemson, man, it's tough to beat those guys.
Yeah.
And Dabo knows how to coach. He rallied those guys, man. And you got the Tyler from Spartanburg, whoever called up Tyler, right? Got him hyped up. Dude, that's the greatest plan of all time. That's up there. You know he planted that damn thing. So he probably got his cousin to call. And rallied those guys up. It's a day game. You had 8-9 guys injured. They're starting quarterbacks in a cast playing.
Yeah.
And Notre Dame just going to – Sam Hartman sucked, and they just, a couple big run plays.
Crossing all that.
There you go.
Pick. Yeah, that pick 6. But still, listen, I see everyone talking in the chat, like, hey, like this happened, the context. Still Clemson on the road for that reason. It's not Marshall at home, guys. We're talking Marshall. All right, so Tim, I've also brought this up. All right, no. Stop.
Go for it.
Which is the bigger loss? I think we would agree Louisville's the 3rd under Freeman. Stanford or Marshall? Which is the bigger? What was the worst loss between those two?
That's a great question.
They were both so bad. I lean Stanford because that Stanford team was so horrible.
Mike, that was their first win against a Power 5 team in like 370 days. I don't think they had won in the middle of September the year before was their last one.
But Marshall is Marshall, and the way that game ended was
that's a headache game. And that's a rookie head coach. Game 2, headache game, hangover, whatever you want to call it, after Ohio State. Didn't have those guys prepared for it. Yeah, I agree. It's a group of 5. But that Marshall team had a top 10 defense. That Marshall team kicked the crap out of people during the season. So, worst loss that I've experienced. I guess you didn't watch Tulsa. I guess you did. Patterson not watch South Florida in 2011? I don't know how long he's been watching Notre Dame, but way worse losses than Marshall, I guarantee you. But No, Marshall sucked because you played Ohio State so damn good the week before. Laid an egg.
So which one are you going with?
I go Stanford because they hadn't won. Their last win was like against UC Davis.
Yeah.
South State. I think Sacramento State. Someone like that, Mike. Southern Utah. Look at it. Their last win in 2021 against a group of 5. Oh, excuse me. But their last group of 5, I think, was September of 2021.
Was this the okay? So this was the 2022 season. That's right. Okay.
Yeah, and then look at 21.
Okay, no, I want to move on to I want to look at this schedule if I'm remembering it correctly. Okay, so you lose to Marshall, and that it's kind of fluky, but then you beat Cal. It wasn't as close as 24-17. Good win on the road at North Carolina. Beat BYU.
Yes.
You're rolling 3-2. You got this.
The momentum.
And then look at what's ahead. Stanford stinks. UNLV, Syracuse, Clemson at home, Navy. It's like, man, you can make a run here.
Mike, you beat Stanford, Mike. You start 0-2. And let's say they still lose to Caleb Williams and SC in the last game.
Still respectable 10-3.
Mike, they go on a run.
Yeah.
They go on. I mean, you win 9 straight games. They're going to be in the top 10, play a top 10 matchup at USC, lose. They're going to a New Year's Six Bowl that year at 9-3.
Even at 10.
Because you're two, you got Ohio State and USC. Top 5-6 programs ain't going to hurt you. Marshall hurt you, but at 9-3, they're going to the Peach Bowl. So that Stanford game, send them to the Outback Bowl. It would have been a 9 wins in a row going into SC.
Oh,
I know. Good way to end the season or the show, but
right. Let's just recapping the 2022 season.
It's year 3. Let's get ready to rock and roll, man. I'm excited to come talk the next few weeks together. We got news, everything. We're getting ready for A&M, man. This is awesome.
Let me throw one more thing at you.
Sure.
So let's say after Mike Singer, right? So after Mike Singer joined the Blue and Gold beat, which is my first year as the 2019 season, which was your favorite Notre Dame season from 2019 to 2023? Would it just be the 2020 season?
Oh, without a doubt. Yeah. Winning.
Yeah, you made the
going to the Final Four is fun, Mike. Winning the Sun Bowl, cool.
Yeah, I guess. This was just something that popped in my head, but that season was also
2021 was boring. I mean, you had some nice wins, don't get me wrong.
Yeah,
it was boring, and then it ended so bad where Notre Dame.
2020 ended pretty poorly too, but yeah, you made the playoff, I guess.
But you lose to the 2 best programs in the last 12 years, and
Alabama, all right. Yeah,
it sucks. It just shows once again Notre Dame is right on the bottom.
2019,
upper tier,
2019 was kind of just a typical Brian Kelly year.
It was a blah year. I mean, you go 11-2, and I think
the Virginia Tech game was fun though.
Yeah, that was a great win. After they lost to Michigan, they just stunk like crazy. But 19 was so. Camping World Bowl, you get another trophy. Notre Dame's got some beautiful trophies lately. So Camping World, Sun Bowl, those are some nice ones.
Okay, would you throw the Oklahoma State Fiesta Bowl somewhere in that? Where would you throw that in the discussion?
Why even talk? Embarrassing. It's like I've always had. It's people always. It's funny. People always want to talk about it's Mike Elston, and I'm like, well, that's Coach Freeman's first game. It's like, was he not involved in anything? Did it take him to the fourth quarter to like, hey, what are we doing on D? That game is always wondered what the hell happened. That's the Clarence Lewis meltdown, but think about 600 some odd yards, Mike. 650 yards on defense, and they were a top 10, top 12 defense all year. That game is still wild, man. So couldn't run the ball. They didn't try and run the ball, Jay Carr. That's what's crazy. They just went gunslinger Jack Cohn for over 500 yards, The best game in your era 22 is game, but the 20 Clemson game.
The 20, yeah, that's my favorite. That's my favorite game.
As I've said, that's why I found you and Mike Goolsby, man. I'm like, jump on YouTube to read some news, and you guys popped up. Yeah, that game's awesome.
That Fiesta Bowl game is kind of how I lost to A&M in my Coach Tim Hyde dynasty. It's kind of how it went. So,
Well, I'm excited. It's just real quick. Late night watching film. I watched the Bussin' with the Boys. You know how they were at Notre Dame last year?
Mhm.
Oh my God, I always forget the DN's name. You got Taylor Lewan, and who's the DN from Nebraska, his partner. Well, they did like a 35-minute road trip video, man. I watched that the other day. It's for Ohio State. Dude, I was fired up. So I'm excited. I've been watching some stuff late at night, getting the juices ready, and excited as high hell, man.
Yeah. So just last thing, Tim, going a little over here, but
that's fine.
So we'll have our show. I think once we get into the we'll still be Tuesday nights.
Yeah, we'll roll. We'll set it up.
We'll do our Friday pregame video. We might have to record that Thursday nights though, Tim.
Yeah, we'll figure it out.
We used to record those Wednesday nights, but yeah, Thursday, and then we'll do the postgame shows. We'll really have a ton of content. Goolsby show will be back weekly. I got to link up with Goolsby here.
Oh, he's there. He's your Sunday night. Sunday night.
Yeah, I got a couple shows with him in August. So you guys remind me to do that a good bit. And yeah.
And Goolsby and I definitely want to do our grades together. So we got to jump on together.
Okay.
Our position grade. Which, by the way, last year we did right around August 16th, 17th. I got a
mid-August.
I looked it up. So we need to jump on in a couple of weeks together and have
sounds good.
Dive into these grades once camp gets rolling.
Sounds good. Well, folks, really appreciate you guys tuning in to this week's Notre Dame football show. Please hit the thumbs up on this video. Subscribe to our YouTube channel if you have not done so yet. And if you listen via podcast, we'd really appreciate if you left us a 5-star review wherever you listen to your podcast. Head over to blueandgold.com. If you're watching the end of the show or listening to it, you're like, man, I need more Notre Dame content. Go to blueandgold.com. Use that promo code UND1. Thank you to our sponsors, Augie's Locker Room. And thank you to Tim Hyde's parents for that beautiful head of hair. Appreciate you all for watching. And as always, we will catch you next time.